Welcome to another Intro to Java Programming video. In this video, I'm going to introduce the calendar class from Java. Calendar class handles all stuff that's calendar-like. Makes sense, right? It handles things like the day, the month, the year, the hour, the second, the minute, the nanosecond, millisecond. It does all these things by taking a look at the computer's system clock. Every computer has an internal clock. And basically it's set in nanoseconds. And it's set in a given number of nanoseconds from a date way back in the 70s until now. And so it's lots and lots and lots of nanoseconds. They use those nanoseconds values to make some calculations to give us all this information, like the day of the week, the current day of the week, or the day of the month, or the month of the year, or the year, so on and so forth. Okay, that's what the calendar class does. And we're going to use that calendar class in the Lazy Days assignment to pick a season. So I want to introduce how we're going to create kind of like a season picker type thing. I'm going to run this. And it's going to bring up, oops, I ran the wrong one. There we go. And you can see it says season, spring, time of day, 16:35:51. If I click on update, it'll update it. You can see it says 16:36:2. 6. 2 seconds have passed since the last time. 2 since the last time. Okay, so you can see it's constantly updating when I click on update. And it gives us a color that's associated with the season. If the season was autumn, it's probably orange. Summer, summer is maybe yellow. Winter is maybe blue or something. I don't know what they are. We can look at the code and see what they'll give us. But it's always going to give me this green background. I'm going to say spring because the month that we're currently in falls within spring. Let's look at how the code works. Just like always, I've got my constants up here for the display width and height. I've got a J button called update, and I've got a calendar variable. It's of type calendar. The calendar is a class from Java. Okay, and I have to import that from Java util. So import Java util calendar. Then I've got three variables of type int. Hour, minute, and second. I've got an int called month. I've got a string called season. And season is going to look at the current time and then use a control statement to set that season to winter, spring, summer, fall. And then I've got a JPanel called GUI panel like usual, a display panel from the display panel class that I create called display just like usual. And then I've got my main. So here I instantiate my season picker class just like always. I set my default close operation, I set my layout to border, I set up my GUI. I'm not going to go through the GUI stuff. You should have this file so you can look at it on your own. There's nothing new and special in the GUI. Let's take a look at update calendar, then update time, and then update season. These are the three methods where the interesting stuff happens. Update calendar. It's right here. So what the update calendar method does is it's going to call on the calendar method getInstance. And what getInstance does is it retrieves an object of type calendar. And that object is going to contain the number of nanoseconds from the system clock. And with those nanoseconds, that instance has the ability to call a whole bunch of methods to generate things like the day of the week, the month of the year, so on and so forth, the minute, second, hours. Okay, so current time, and we're going to call on getInstance on the calendar class. Now this is something that people tend to forget to do on this assignment. Do not forget to do this. In fact, this has to happen before anything else happens. And I'll show you why. Because the next thing that we're going to do is update time. And the update time is going to use that current time variable. Now, if I go current time get calendar hour of day, and I call this getter on current time, and I didn't get the instance first, I'm going to have a problem. Let me show you what that problem is. And this is going to be a problem that people are going to have on this project. I see it on this project a lot. So I'm going to call on update time ahead of update calendar. Let's see what error we get. Well, nothing worked. You can see that the JFrame didn't even pop up. I get something called a null pointer exception. Null pointer exception means I'm trying to work a method on a variable that has no object in it. In other words, I'm trying to call that method current time, or pardon me, that method get on the object that's in my current time variable. But current time is currently null. In other words, we never got that calendar instance and stored it in this variable first. That's a problem. So the first thing that needs to happen in here, I have to update that calendar so it has that instance in it. In other words, this is getting all of that calendar information. It's getting the day, month, year, the hour, minute, second, all that kind of stuff on this line. And if we try to retrieve all that stuff before we have all that stuff, we got a problem. It's called the null pointer exception. Once again, null pointer exception means you're trying to work a method on an object reference variable that does not have an object in it. Therefore, it's null. That's why they call it a null pointer exception. How we fix these, I can click on this little blue link in the error message. It's going to tell us what thing has a null pointer exception. So we're getting the null pointer exception on this line. And it's always going to come from some sort of an object reference variable. Current time is an object reference variable because it's not a primitive. It's not an int or a short or a long or a Boolean or something like that. It is of type calendar class. And I'm calling a method to it. So it's currently null when I try and call that method. So I can fix that by making sure that I am putting an object in that variable. And in this case, if it's the calendar one, I need to make sure that I do, where are you? Right here. I do this, get instance, calendar get instance, and assign it to the current time variable. Okay? So the order has to be like that in this case. Update calendar, then update time, and then update season. Okay, so let's take a look at the update time method, since we've talked about update calendar already. Now that we've got a calendar instance in current time, I can call these get methods to it. The get method is going to take some sort of an int. This doesn't look like an int, but I assure you it is. Calendar.hourofday is a static constant from the calendar class, and it's an integer that when it gets passed into the get method, it's going to retrieve the hour from this instance. So it's going to look at this instance, it's going to look at the system clock on my computer, it's going to generate the current hour of today, and it's going to return it to this point. It's going to store it in this variable. Same thing's going to happen with this one. So the get method, there are all kinds of different constants. You'll see other constants that will pass into it. But hour of day, minute, and second will retrieve the hour of the day, the minute, and the second. So once this is called, all three of these variables now have values in them, the hour, the minute, and the second. Now, let's take a look at update season. Update season is going to get the calendar.month. So it's going to get the current month out of the current time objects. It's going to look at that calendar instance that's in current time. It's going to look at our system clock, and it's going to calculate the month of the year, and it's going to store it in this month variable. Now I'm going to tell you something that's really important about this. The months in calendar start at 0. Why? It seems stupid. Like when we talk about months, January is month 1, right? But in Java, January is month 0. Kind of annoying, but it's the way it works. All collections in Java are 0 indexed. In other words, the first thing in any kind of collection has the value of 0. So given that January is the first month in the year, it's going to have month 0. So our winter is not going to be 12, 1, and 2. it's going to be 0, 11, and 1. Okay, so pardon me, we've got 11 here, which is December, 0, and 1 for our months. So here's what's happening. I'm going to use a switch statement here to set up my, my string for the season. I've got my month being stored in the month variable. I get it out of the calendar instance, and then the switch statement is going to look at that month. Now let's say if it's 11, it's going to choose case December. It's going to fall through January and February, and then it's going to assign winter into season, and then it's going to break, and then we're done. Okay. Let's say the current month is 4 because it's May right now. So the month would actually be 4. It wouldn't be 5, it would be 4 in Java. So it would look here. No, it's not December, it's not January, it's not February. So it's not winter, it's not March, it's not April. Oh, it's May. So this case evaluates a true. It assigns the season to spring, and then we break. And then if it were summer, let's say it's month 5 or June, it would get June, it would assign it to summer, and then we've got September, October, and November for fall. I'm going to expand this a little bit so we can see a little more of it. So this is the entirety of our switch statement. The update season is going to generate the month. It's going to use that month for a switch statement here. And if it's December, January, February, season becomes winter. If it's March, April, or May, season becomes spring. If it's June, July, or August, season becomes summer. If it's September, October, November, season becomes fall. So why am I showing you all this? Well, the project that you're going to do in this unit, you're going to have to use, you're going to be creating basically an activity picker for a resort. And that resort is going to have different types of activities for each of the seasons. And you're going to allow the computer to choose the season. You're not going to let the user choose the season. You're going to have to use the calendar to set the month and then use that month to set the season, just like we've got here. So part of this, the update season, could be used in your Lake Lazy Days assignment. All right, I'm not going to show you anything of the rest of this. We're not going to talk about the GUI or anything else. I think we've spent enough time looking at this. If you want to take a look at the GUI stuff, you've got the code, look over it, make sure you know how it works. But that is how the calendar works. Thanks for watching.